Good evening, West Orange, and good evening, our honored guests tonight. And thank you for joining us at our March 5th conference agenda. Madam Clerk, or Deputy Clerk, Acting Clerk.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on September 26, 2018, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on October 4th, 2018. Councilwoman Casalino?
Present.
Councilman Krakowiak?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President Garino.
Present. Thank you. Before we move on, I'd like to give the floor to Councilwoman McCartney to make a special announcement and a request.
Council
Councilwoman?
President, thank you. So I really am just asking for a moment of silence for Max Manchel. So Max was my friend and neighbor for over 30 years. He has just been a political activist, I want to say, but not just in politics, in so many other things. God bless you. This is true, what I'm saying, John. Thank you. John started our Energy Commission. He served for many years, since 2007. Oh, my goodness. I don't know where to begin. We just came from a prayer service for him. Thank you. It is from the heart. Just from the West Orange stuff, like everything before that, he has such a long history here in town. He was elected representative from West Orange Ward 1, District 9 to the Essex County Democratic County Committee from 1962 to the present. Appointed to the West Orange Citizen Advisory Commission by Mayor Louis Falcone. He was appointed to the West Orange Planning Board. He was our Planning Board attorney by Mayor Louis Falcone. He was appointed lawyer to the West Orange Planning Board, again, by Mayor Sam Spina. Appointed Deputy West Orange Mayor for Energy by John McKeon, and served as a volunteer aide to Assemblyman John McKeon. I also served with him on the Friends of Thomas Edison National Historic Park, and his wit and wisdom has just been, he's been my friend and mentor for so long. So I just ask for a moment of silence in memory of Max Manchel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
It's a good memory. He was a very decent man, a very active member, an important member of our community. We'll remember him. Moving right along, updates on redevelopment.
I'm sorry.
Updates on redevelopment, Mr. Six.
Moving along. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say. They're renting the units. I tried to speak to someone from there today to see when the plans for Phase 2 would be submitted, but unfortunately, Mr. Diaz was not available today, so I didn't get an update on that, but I will have that for you at the next meeting. And everything just seems to be moving along pretty well, from what I can see, and everything that's happening in the township.
Any questions from my colleagues to Mr. Sayers?
Sure, just about Phase, oh, I'm sorry. Me?
Yes.
Phase 2? Where are we with Phase 2?
That's what I just said. I tried to call them to find out when he was going to submit the plans, and he wasn't around today, so I didn't actually get an answer for that.
For Phase 2.
But they did tell me that they were going to be sometime probably around the end of March, beginning of April. So I will have that answer for you hopefully at the next meeting.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other comments or questions of Mr. Sayers?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sayers.
You're welcome.
Moving right along, Megan Brill, you like to make a presentation? Good evening, Ms. Brill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry, I have a cold and I can't hear it all. Megan Brill, Executive Director with the Downtown Alliance. I want to introduce you to Stacy Reese, West Orange resident for how long? 5 years. Has stepped up to be the farmers market manager and actually run the market. Come on up, Stacy. We've been in conversation for like the last 2 years, really, and I've been cooperating with her and guiding the team of people that really want to do it, which is really just her. But if you remember, our budget presentation didn't include anything about the market. It wasn't until about maybe 10 days ago that Stacy said that they're ready to go. They have a farmer, they have a couple of farmers, and we're looking at April or May. So we got the departments at Town Hall together and the mayor and Dave Drill from 80 Main, and we were able to coordinate it and following all the rules. So we're very excited, but I wanted to introduce you all to Stacy. She's behind the scenes a lot on Facebook, but I wanted her to give you at least a little bit of background on what her vision is for the market and how glad we are that she's willing to step up and really take that on. The Downtown Alliance will be, I guess, the overseer. It'll be a team of folks under our promotions committee, and I guess that's all. Come on.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So it's hard not to be smiling ear to ear because I am super excited about this, and I hope you guys all are too. I know I used to attend the farmers market back when we had it religiously, and so I've been upset, as most of the community has been, to not have the West Orange farmers market around. So now that it's up and going, we've got a main farmer, another farmer from East Orange, and tons of vendors that specialize in artisanal cheeses, breads, local honey, freshly picked flowers. I'm just super excited. So we actually launched this farmers market yesterday, just over 24 hours ago. And as I checked my phone all about 5 minutes ago, we're almost at 200 likes.
Nice.
So we've had a lot of community support, a lot of vendor support, and it's obviously not possible with the help of PD, fire, and everybody at Town Hall. So I just want to say thank you, and it's going to be really great.
Very good, thank you. Anyone have any questions for our new farmers market manager? Councilman
Ms.
Cook?
Reese, congratulations and thanks for stepping up. We've had the farmers market in a couple of different places. Have you decided on a location yet? Because you're probably talking to a lot of people who aren't on Facebook, and it might be good for them to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided on 80 Main as our location for the farmers market. We just talked to the fire department and police and the health department yesterday. All is set. We're all good. We're all excited to start. The first market is going to be May 18th. It's going to run Saturdays until November 2nd. And we're hoping to have some themed days therein. I know the yoga ground is going to have some pop-up events with us, maybe do yoga a couple mornings. And we're looking into perhaps some live performances or some things to just keep drawing people in, because that's what the community wants. So we'll try to give it to them.
So 80 Main is the big office building, right?
Yes, the drill building.
And so it's not going to be inside the building, it'll be out in the parking lot?
Outside in the parking lot, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course, you do have a Facebook page, right? You gotta,
Absolutely.
I had to ask that question.
We originally thought that we would put it on this side of 80 Main because it's the most visible part, but police and fire were worried about the in and out of people walking and cars going in and out of this entrance to 80 Main. And they decided that it would be better in the far parking lot. So we're going to have to do some publicity to make sure that folks see it in the back. You'll see it if you're coming this way, which is north on Main Street, but if you're coming south, you may not see it. So we're going to have to do a lot of Facebook advertising, and it's exciting. It's something that really just kind of popped up.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
After
you guys
2
are all
years.
invited. Please come.
Councilwoman Castellino?
So you decided, so Saturday mornings then?
Saturday mornings, 9 to 2, and the vendors are setting up at 8.
Okay. I assume Saturday because the parking lot is empty then, and it's a good day to have it?
Yeah, that's the drill. We had actually really were honing in on Sunday. We thought that more farmers would be available then, but we couldn't get any farmers to lock in. So Drill and the folks at 80 Main had said the weekend where the parking lot isn't used, Santander's there until 12, the bank in that building. So we should really not interfere with any of the weekly operations, and then nothing that happens on the weekend.
Okay, great.
How are you going to advertise it?
Yes.
How are you going to advertise it?
Well,
Anyways,
probably all cheap ways. Really inexpensive
36,
ways. We'll
45,
do
yeah.
banners. We'll do the banners and the 5-sign posts that we have. What we really found is that advertisement through school, which is a little bit pricier to make a flyer that goes out to all the parents, but social media is the way, especially because there's going to be, a theme that's happening on a Saturday that we want folks to know, and the best way to share that is through email and social media publication. But if we can get an ad in the Chronicle, we'd love to do that. Where's Amanda?
Okay.
There she is. And in TAP. So we'll, if you have any other ideas for us, we'd love to hear them. And Stacy really needs help watching, making sure that the market gets set up and then broken down quickly, afterwards, so that
Keep
the
us-
whole weekend isn't,
Keep us in the loop.
spent.
Keep the council, yes, Councilwoman McCartney.
That's it.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Stacy. Thank you for your enthusiasm. So in the meantime, just to give you a historical perspective, that we had the farmers market kind of dissolved, and thank you for bringing it back. In that meantime, the West Orange Environmental Commission put together a field goods campaign that's still going on, and this is where anyone in town can subscribe to Field, F-I-E-L-D, field-goods.com, and you get a shipment every week. So it gets delivered to Metropolitan Plant Exchange, West Orange Library, and First Mountain Preschool. So it has been a town-wide event. People sign up for it. If you don't want, there's no obligation. If you don't want the delivery that week, you just say no as part of your subscription. So that's also on top of this. If someone can't get out on a Saturday, that's still available. But I just really appreciate your enthusiasm for the farmers market, because we wanted to keep the momentum going. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that after I signed up for Fields Good, that now I started noticing the sign that's out in front of Metropolitan and even the library. What'll be good is for us to advertise more of that. It's in and around town that comes out,
Yes.
but that's really the only place that
Right.
it is. Unless you really are looking at that, you don't see it. So it is a
Right.
good option, because people are, definitely bummed out that we're on a Saturday, not a Sunday, or not during the
People
week or
can't
at
get out.
night. So that's a great option to allow people. But this
Yes,
really is
good,
going to be
thank
a
you.
community event where, our neighbors are going to be able to come back and hang out in the parking lot and eat and get some good fresh fruits and vegetables and cheese and bread
yes.
Sounds good.
and
A
all
little bit
kinds of eggs.
everything.
Yes.
Affordable things, but delicious things.
Well, we wish you much success, and I'm sure with the backing of the Downtown Alliance and Megan and all of us, you should be successful. And I hope the Downtown Alliance board members will be there to put their, efforts into it and everything else. Speaking of which, Ms. Bill, when is the next Downtown West Orange Alliance meeting?
Our meetings are always the third
Third
Wednesday
Wednesdays.
of the month. Our next meeting is March 20th.
Okay.
Begins at 7 o'clock here at Town Hall, room 109.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councilwoman Castellino.
Just one last thought, Meg. If you could just please give the information to Patty Duffy so she could disperse it through her email base. So this way our senior citizens in
Yeah,
town will
we
have an
did-
e-blast.
Right, we had the health department in our meeting with Stacy and police fire, and we did talk about the vouchers that come out through the county. We've not gotten them for our seniors because we haven't had a farmer's market, but as soon as this market goes online, we'll get those vouchers back, and that is a $20 voucher that can be redeemed at the market for any senior and then a certain income level, which is, definitely great. And I know that the health department talked to Patty.
Okay, great.
Are you,
We'll make sure.
I'm sorry. Are you done, Councilwoman? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll speak to Patty also, because unfortunately on Saturdays, we don't run the jitney bus, and so we'll have to see.
It'll
I'll have
be
talk
great to have the
Mr.
rent-a-house
Sayers.
folks, they missed
Yeah.
it when they used to come over here for, when we were in the back parking lot. So we were able to pick up the Degnan House people over in the Quigley lot.
Yeah.
So maybe for one of the special events, we can get a jitney or,
For the day,
figure
yeah.
out a way to bring seniors
once a-
that aren't right here or
Right.
over to here.
Or once a month, or we'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
That's how we did it last time. Okay.
Thank
Thank you, Ms. Bill. Good
Thanks
luck,
for your
Stacy.
energy.
We wish you luck.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Council liaison announcements. Councilman Kukoviac.
Nothing for me.
Nothing? Okay, sir. Councilwoman McCartney.
Okay, so
the snow, the West Orange High School AP art exhibit was postponed, but now it's installed. It will be on March 9th, starting March 9th, at the West Orange Art Center Gallery at 551 Valley Road, from now through March 24th. Planning Board will meet tomorrow night here in Town Council Chambers, and also next Wednesday to do an update on the re-exam of the master plan. Everyone is invited. Our meetings start at 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Matute Brown.
Just wanted to say thank you. I've seen so many residents and met so many residents, some of you are here, who've stopped by my home or my husband's office to drop off some incredible prom gowns. Please keep them coming. We will be notifying when that date is ended, but we're hoping for the next 2 weeks to continue to collect the gowns and suits. I've actually had some tuxes donated. Yes, very excited. And the high school is very excited for the help, so thank you all for participating.
Thank you,
I have a soup
Councilwoman.
for you.
Councilwoman Castellino.
So although there is a few inches of snow left on the ground, spring sports signups are, the Recreation Department has posted them. So there's a new early bird discount available for all rec sponsor programs, not just for the kids, but also for the adults. So secure your spot now. Go to the rec website and sign on to Community Pass registration to get ready for spring. So spring will be springing soon. We have senior yoga at the Cat Civic Center started in April, as well as Zumba and aerobics, and you could contact Patty Duffy at 973-325-4105, or go right to our website for our senior recreation. Also, the St. Patrick's Day party will be next week, March 14th, from 11:30 to 2:30 at the Cat Civic Center. And on the 13th, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Cat Civic Center will be our special needs St. Patrick's Day party. So getting ready for the parade and whatnot, which will be next Sunday, March 10th at 12:15 kickoff in front of Town Hall. And last but not least, also a shout out for the Recreation Department. This past Saturday, a few of us were at the Recreation Achievement Awards, which was sponsored by the Recreation Department. That's where the Recreation Department recognizes lifetime achievements of someone from the PAL, a volunteer from Mountaintop League, and the Recreation Department. This year's recipients was Mike Loretto, longtime baseball coach in town, and he gave many, many years of service, so we appreciate all of Mike's efforts in not only coaching the PAL, but also our high school American Legion team for many years. Brad Pallant from the Mountaintop League. Brad was a board member for many years, and he's also implemented the West Orange hockey program on the recreation level, so we thank Brad for his efforts as well. And last but not least, Mike Shannon. Mike had owned East Orange Sporting Goods store in town for years, which actually was located on moved to Pleasant Valley Way in West Orange for many years. I know many a varsity jacket was bought from Mike. I know mine back in the day, as well as my 3 students. But Mike also was a coach and was very, very good to the athletic departments here in West Orange. So we thank all 3 for their contributions to the community. And last week, we want to thank the West Orange Orange Unico. Their annual sports breakfast, they recognized 7 students within the different schools, private and public school. Dwight Doc Gooden was their guest speaker this year. He had a great message, not only about his baseball career, but also of the adversity in his life that he has overcome. So we thank you to the Unico for raising, funds for our students throughout the years. And
You said
That's
Nestle,
it.
so, okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome, Councilwoman Castellino. Just another thing, first of all, big shout out for the West Orange Department of Public Works for safely and greatly cleaning the roadways over the past snowstorm, so a big shout out to them and our workers. We're very fortunate. Also, I don't think anybody mentioned it, but this coming Sunday is the St. Patrick's Day Parade. So I hope you'll all take out and get out your green and come down to Main Street and have a great time and show some pride for the West Orange 68th Parade. And also another big shout out to Joe Fagan, who is the Deputy Grand Marshal. So congratulations to you, Joe, and the rest of the honorees for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Coming up on March 13th will be our next Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board meeting, and at that meeting, our student representatives who are on our who work with our board will be making a presentation on crash data that they've been working on and analyzing and pulling it together, pulling it apart. So if you'd like to see a good presentation, please make sure. The meeting is held at the Essex County Educational Center, and thank you to the county for the use of it at Turtleback Zoo, 7:30 on March 13th. Also at that meeting will be the unveiling of the final approved plans for the West Orange Main Street Road Diet. They'll be presented, and hopefully you'll come and see what we have, the great plans we have for downtown Main Street. Also, thanks to Sangeeta Badlani and her contacts, we will be looking at doing a Vision Zero program, one of the first municipalities in the county of Essex. It'll be a smaller program because the way our township is set up, it won't be like New York City, it won't be like Jersey City, but it'll be unique to West Orange, and we're trying to pull that together, so we'll like to keep you up as we're rolling forward with Vision Zero. Just another announcement is, just please do remember that the March 19th meeting will be held in the auditorium at Liberty Middle School. It will not be held here in council chambers. It will be at Liberty Middle School. So we hope all of you who would like to attend will attend. The same time frame here as it is at Town Hall. 6:30 will be the conference agenda. 7 o'clock is the public meeting, but it will be held in Liberty School in their auditorium. Also, too, the thing that we're looking into, we've been asked to evaluate having one of our council meetings at another historic site in the township of West Orange, and that's at the Essex Troop, the Essex Armory. And we are arranging a meeting to go and look at it to make sure it is compliant to having a meeting there for a public meeting, ADA compliant, and so forth. So we'll give you some update about that, of how we find it, and when we'll be having a meeting there. We were asked. We were approached, and they wanted to know if we'd like to use it. And they have a great oak room, it's called there. And so we've been asked to see if we would like to use it. So hopefully we'll have some more information for the township and the other council members. Other than that, again, Councilwoman Castellino about the Unico. I didn't realize how big Doc Gooden was, but, it's like, he was really great. Everybody enjoyed, the kids had a great, and he didn't turn anybody away for an autograph.
No.
I mean, he
No,
was
not
very,
at all.
very humble. A lot of respect for Doc Gooden and the Mets organization for having him work with them and reach out to the community. So we were very fortunate to have him. It was a great thing. Congratulations to Unico, another great breakfast. Okay, so we've got 6 minutes to our next meeting, to the public meeting. Yes, Mrs. Brill.
I didn't think that I was going to talk all about downtown. I have two things. The street fair is coming. We've marked out the area, and we have about 125 spots available in for vendors. We have 32 vendors paid, locked in. Vendor forms for a resident that sells anything or sells crafters, $75. A business that is here, or a resident that owns a business that doesn't sell anything, kind of like a preschool or pest control, auto repair, that's only $50. If you lock in now, you not only get a little bit of a savings, but you will be placed in the middle of the street fair, which will be right in front of the Thomas Edison Historic Site. So that's important. And after Friday, the fees go up by like $10. So lock in as soon as you can. The other thing that came across my desk was something about the prison project. The International Concrete Repair Institute, which is ICRI, awarded Prism Partners the Concrete Repair Project of the Year. They detailed in the little Facebook post on Essex Daily, thank you again, Amanda, that PRISM, that they tackled this really difficult job, that Edison's Concrete, they called it, where was it? Cast, reconstructed, where is it? It's called the something concrete. That is like special to just Edison's kind of concrete, and how difficult of a project it was, and that's probably why so many people passed it over. But it definitely was something that the construction industry has evaluated to be really difficult to take a building like that from industrial to residential. They also noted that they took great care to restore and save 2,496 windows in the entire complex. So I'll make sure that Shari gets this to put it out on the email. It's a great article about PRISM and Steve Terrell, the construction manager, and just another great news story about downtown West Orange. So that's it.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. There's still got 3 minutes.
Thank you.
You can't talk more?
Okay.
Nah, it's okay.
You can, because you should tell people how they can contact, you didn't bring that up, about contacting.
Well, we
Downtown
try
Alliance.
to put everything out on 3 platforms. The township platform, which is downtownwestorange.org. We have our downtown website, which is downtownwo.com, and the Chamber of Commerce platform, which is West Orange Chamber, NJ?
.com.
Right, and .com. So any of the stuff that you see us talking about, you should be able to find that on any one of those websites. In addition, everything that we say is on the In and Around Town, which is the newsletter that goes out to several thousand residents, and a great way. There's links. It's lots of pictures, so you can quickly spiel through it and find what you're looking for and click on it. It's a great way. But yeah, for us, it's downtownwo.com.
Thank you, Ms. Brill.
Leave it again.
7 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brill. Everybody just take a 7th inning stretch. Everybody can stand up and take a 7th inning stretch. And so, other than that,
It's not 7?
okay.
Oh, that clock, it's not 7.
I can tell a funny story and everything.
Really?
Anyone ever have problems with your snow blowers? Really? No, not now, Joe.
I just want to add very quickly what Megan said about the Edison Concrete is that Edison's Concrete, Portland Cement, his mining operation actually had this special sand that was a byproduct, and when his mining operation failed, it was an ingredient into Portland Cement that Edison manufactured in New Village, New Jersey. And when the original Yankee Stadium was built in 1927, I believe, it was Edison Portland Cement that built Yankee Stadium. And when they, in the 1970 renovations, they tried to demolish it, and they found that it to be superior, and they actually saved those sections for Yankee Stadium. So it's known as the house that Ruth built, but in reality, it's the house that Edison built.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Thank you, our town historian. Thank you. Okay. Welcome, West Orange. Welcome to our March 5th public meeting. Madam Clerk?
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on September 26, 2018, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on October 4th, 2018. Councilwoman Casalino?
Present.
Councilman Krakowiak?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCarthy? McCartney, sorry. Council President Garino?
Present.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
We are now in our public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, at this time, before we go into public comment, I'd like to invite Mr. Anthony Puglisi from the Office of the County Executive to come up and make his presentation about West Orange's Community Development Block Grant for this year.
Before I do that, I just want to piggyback on Councilwoman Castellino's comments about spring. Think spring. It's about a month away that the cherry blossoms arrive in Branchford Park. So let's all think spring. And I'll have more details on that at probably the next meeting. So now I'm going to do my Publishers Clearinghouse impression. It's not a lifelong check, but a few weeks ago we had our annual CDBG presentations. Again, West Orange was the municipality that had the largest grant awarded to it, which was $414,000. This check is only for $365,000 because part of the award that West Orange received went to the Bethany Center for Champions.
Oh, yeah.
And that fund is funding a program for at-risk youth. So this check represents roadway reconstruction for Tompkins Street and Stockton Street. One thing that I want to stress is the importance of this program and how every year it's always in jeopardy. Our Housing and Community Development Office always tells us that every year this is like hung over the heads of all the legislators and legislators and all that. And it is a vital program because, as you can just see in West Orange with the road resurfacing, programs for youth, programs for seniors, ADA compliance for municipalities and organizations. So it does do a lot of good. And every year we're always, I don't want to say held hostage, but we're held hostage until an agreement or compromise is worked out between the president and Congress. So if you do have a chance to talk to any of your representatives, I know our New Jersey delegation is very much in favor of this program, but it never hurts. It only helps if you share that how important this is and how much good it does into the community. So I just want to present this to you. You can't take this to a bank.
No.
Don't try to cash it. I know they're already working on next year's program. So we always have, it always works like a year in advance. So I'll present this to you, Council President.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
You have more to say?
No, that's all I have to say. I'm camera shy, though.
No, you're not camera shy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate
You're
it. On behalf of my colleagues in the township, and the mayor and the residents, we thank the county for its continued support for our, infrastructure improvements, and thanks to CDBG grant. It takes you a long time to say that.
Yes.
But we want to thank you, and we won't cash you at this point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll thank Spring, Anthony.
We really appreciate the efforts made by the county executive, and to give us the additional funds to do the improvements that townships like ours need to do, and we couldn't do them if it wasn't for these annual grants. So again, we thank the county and the county executive. Moving right along, we're now open to public comment. So anyone wishing to speak to the Township Council, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. Come up. Now, when you come up, please clearly state your name and address, and please spell your last name. We really appreciate it. Thank you. So who's going to be first?
Well,
Yes, sir.
Good evening to the council, members of the audience. Gary Van Wyck, 71 Burnett Terrace. I'm here to talk about an article that was in the New York Times over the weekend concerning the destruction of trees in West Orange. I would like to read to you, first of all, a letter in response to that by Lauren Svetvilas, which is being published in the New York Times. For a glimpse into why West Orange is losing so many of our important, beautiful and magnificent trees, watch a portion of a West Orange Town Council meeting, and there's a link. Trees in West Orange are commonly traded for parking lots, Belgian block, and new development. When our leafy friends are regarded as pawns in a political game that trades new sidewalks for mature trees, we all lose. Our township's designation as a Tree City, USA, is misleading and a lie. Our Green West Orange is working to hold township officials responsible. Where is our Shade Tree Commission? Where is permitting for tree removal? How come no tree removal permits have been denied in the last 5 years? Why is there a practice of retroactive permitting, providing a signed permit after a tree is removed? Why do we have a town forester who is contracted to work only on Wednesdays? Why is there no enforcement of the current tree ordinance? Should we provide new homeowners a copy of the township's tree ordinance and rules for removing trees? The township officials quoted in the article need to become the stewards of our majestic providers of air, drainage, beauty, and increased property values. If they are not willing to advocate for change, then it is time for the advocates to change their leaders. Excuse me, I'm a little out of breath being late and having dashed, but I also wrote to members of the council about this issue. I know that some of the council also sit in on environmental commission meetings, and we discussed this issue. We determined that the program should be carefully looked at, that we should stop cutting down mature trees, that we should carefully select the trees that are chosen, and that Mr. Lepore would supply to the Environmental Commission a list of streets and trees that were going to be removed. To my knowledge, so far, we have not received such a list, and we have had no proper oversight of a program that many people have objected to. I have never seen anybody come to Town Council or to the Environmental Commission to demand that we cut down more trees. It's only people like me and people like Lauren who come to this council and ask that we not cut down trees without a rational program. We're in the middle of a global warming crisis. We're already over the cliff, and we're inventing a parachute as we fall. Trees are a carbon soak. Every mature tree we cut down is our contribution to global warming. So we need to do everything we can to save mature trees and work around them. This is really not acceptable, and the fact that this town is making news in the city because residents are objecting and residents are writing letters in support of objections is really a disgrace. This is not the kind of publicity that we need. Now, I'm standing here having become somebody quite active in town politics in the last year or so, precisely for this reason. It was because 2 huge 100-year-old oak trees were cut down on the end of my street to create sidewalks to nowhere in a cul-de-sac, a dead-end street with no sidewalk. That's what got me involved in town council. And if we cannot have action on issues like this, as Lauren says, we have to change the people that are supposedly representing us, because this is not good enough. So I ask the council, I ask the Environmental Commission to please take action and ensure that this program is rationalized. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Brill.
Megan Brill, Executive Director of Downtown Alliance, and a resident, 1 Oak Crest Road. I wanted to just speak in support of Joe Fagan becoming appointed as the Public Information Officer that's later in the agenda. I guess we've worked with Joe for the last 5+ years downtown, and I remember Mike Breck, who I don't know if he's in the audience. Mike is
on
just
his
come
way
back
back
from
from
Morocco. But Mike said, you know this guy, Joe Fagan, you have to talk to him. And I was like, Joe Fagan from Mountain High, Joe Fagan from West Orange High, there's two Fagans. And it ended up that Mike said, he's the guy that writes for the Chronicle. And that's exactly how I knew who Joe was. So a few months later, we began to really seriously talk about what it would look like to have Joe begin working with us. One of the things that, and I don't remember if John even remembers this, that we said, you can't get a more honest guy than Joe Fagan. And the ethics that he has and his work ethic and just such a strong, outstanding human being. And at the time, I had just gotten the job about 8 or 9 months. There was a lot of controversy about downtown, whether I should have the job or not, and lots of bad press. And we really thought that bringing a guy like Joe on board with us would add credibility to all the things that we do. And I think that he's shown over and over again that Joe is up to pretty much any task that you give him, as well as promoting the businesses that are here downtown. We try to venture outside of the corridor as much as we can to be able to share Joe and the things that we do with the greater West Orange. A good example of that is Fandango, the new Mexican place up in Pleasantdale. We're going to do their ribbon cutting for him and for Javier. And that's one of the ways that I said, Joe, would you be available to go up and do a ribbon cutting? And before the words were out of my mouth, Joe said, when do you need me? Where do you need me to go? And that's pretty much been our relationship with Joe. Our board doesn't know. We kept it, John and I talked about it, so it hasn't, the big announcement, I guess, is happening now. But I see only great possibilities with sharing Joe with the rest of our whole town. I said, and I'm not sure you remember in our budget presentation, and I think I said it every year, that when the part comes up about Joe's salary within the Downtown Alliance, that any day that we can keep Joe Fagan in West Orange is a good day. And I think that it's just tenfold being able to have him in the Public Information Office and here and accessible to all of the residents that need him, all the businesses that need him, to have him have the relationship with police and fire and health and rec, to be able to be the springboard for conversation and showcasing all the things that we do really, really well. I think everyone can agree that we do a lot of things right. Folks don't know about it. So I'm looking forward to it. I know our board's really looking forward to having more time with Joe around. And I just wanted to say that I didn't want you to vote on it without, getting my soundbite in there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Eric Applegate, 5 West Road. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. As a new resident to the township, we moved in November. We're really excited, my wife and I, to be here. And I'm here to talk about the purchase and the funding of the Rock Spring Golf Club. 5 West Road is right in that neighborhood, the Rock Spring neighborhood. And when we were first looking for a home in the area, we drove around, looked at different communities, and really fell in love with West Orange, and in particular with that neighborhood. We've thoroughly enjoyed living there since November, but as we've discovered and learned about the potential purchase of the Rock Spring Club, we've tried to become educated and read all the material. We went to the information session last week, and I would really strongly urge the council to vote yes, both on the purchase as well as, and I'll be back on the 19th for the funding decision. I think it's a really unique opportunity for the town to acquire such a large piece of property and, under township control, decide the future of what we as a town do with it. Clearly, I've got a very parochial hat on in terms of living next door, but I think for the larger West Orange community, there's tremendous opportunity if we take the time to do a very thoughtful, well-researched, well-planned process to come up with what's the right solution, what is the long-term strategy that meets the needs of the broader community, and we do it in a thoughtful, open, transparent, accountable way. I think we've got a really great opportunity here. And I would hate to see this fall aside and a developer come in and then we lose the control over what happens to that land. I just think it's a great opportunity that we should really seize upon. Thank you.
Thank
you, sir. Anyone else like to speak to the council? Mr. Meyerowitz.
Good evening, Mark Meyerowitz, 19 Howell Drive. It's been a while since I've been here, a couple of months. Just a couple of things. The town is doing the Public Works Department is doing a wonderful job with the snow and ice and clearing the streets. I live on a very hilly street, and I know in the morning when my son goes to work at 6:15 in the morning, I know that the road is clear and it's good and safe to go down the hill. So I want to thank the gentlemen and the women who are taking care of this situation. It's a good feeling to know that the street is going to be taken care of. On the other hand, I can't understand why the township and the administration is depending on one redevelopment plan after another, after another, after another. There's got to be a better way of doing business and rebuilding what needs to be built in a competitive way. Because these redevelopment plans are sweetheart deals for the chosen developer. They're non-competitive. You're not going to get the best deal. You're not going to get as many fresh ideas as you should be getting. I mean, we're basically declaring the entire town a blighted area. So you might as well just go ahead and do that. Just declare West Orange a blighted town. Now, maybe we could have FEMA come in and fix things up. You know, we need to get back to the free market to build a town and give things out to competitive bidding, not just one bidder, not just one friend, not just one political contributor. And it's got to be an open and fair process, not this secret, underhanded, I don't want to say underhanded, but the secret process where the citizens don't really know what's going on. And we don't know who is going to be chosen. And we don't know why particular developers are chosen. Seems a mystery to me. So, you know, I would like the administration to start changing their tune and start going in a more normal direction. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, I don't know the exact time, we rebuilt the police station and the courthouse next door. It was not a redevelopment plan, and it got done very nicely on time. I think it was even under budget, if I remember. You know, and it worked. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a sweetheart deal for any contributor. They all had to make their bids, and that's what we should be going back to, and that's what would be in the best interest for the citizens of this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Morelli.
Rosary Morelli, Ralph Road. I really wasn't going to speak tonight, but Mark sort of instigated something or started something. If we have so many properties in this town that are in need of redevelopment, they're supposed to be blighted areas, his point, is the problem that we have a grossly mismanaged business, a business of the town. Because in many cases, these properties are not being kept up because the building maintenance ordinances are not being enforced. I mean, we heard that whole debacle at Mayfair Farms. So what are we doing wrong in this town? Every time we turn around, something's blighted. In the real world, this wouldn't be happening. It's only in government. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, in the back here.
Good evening, council members and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Reed. I live on 8 Rock Spring Road. Name is R-E-E-D. And just wanted to say that I attended the mayor's informational session regarding the purchase of the Rock Spring, the Montclair Golf Club at Rock Spring course. And I've had an opportunity to walk in that area because I walk my dog there, and it's a beautiful place, and it's wonderful to think that all the residents of West Orange could benefit from the purchase of this property. The mayor's plans sound very good to me.
Can you adjust your mic so we can...
Is this better? Okay. Immediately after the meeting, about 2 days later, a group of our neighbors, about 30, 35 of us, got together informally to discuss the matter, and everyone was really excited. And it would be nice to share this area with walkways for the local residents. It has been a wonderful private club. I can't afford to go there, but now it would be very nice for everyone in the neighborhood to be able to use it and to preserve green space. I think it's very important, and keep traffic down in our area. It's a one-way access right now to that club, and it gets a little dangerous on the sidewalks. So if council members do agree and pass the vote to purchase that property, I'm sure the local residents in the area would be happy to work with you and discuss different ways in which we can improve the situation. So we urge you to vote yes on the purchase of the property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? No? Last time? Yes, Mario?
Good evening. Mariel Clemenson, 4 Cherrywood Circle. I have 2 questions for the town council members. The first one is to all members. I'd be interested, given the fact that we are embarking on a very important master plan that's being updated for the first time in 10 years, the fact that we have a growing senior population, and the fact that we are looking at acquiring the Rock Spring Club, would each of you be open to and vote yes for a town planner who would have a background, let's say, in developmental economics and smart city planning? I think it's really important to have or share with another town something like that so that it's done in a very smart, aggressive manner. My second question has to do with 2 members who I believe probably have very valid questions about the financing and the debt burden for the town, Ms. Brown and Joe Krakowiak. Just on behalf of some of the residents that I work with in the Rock Spring area, we would like to know what would allow you to comfortably vote yes for the financing. You know, what factors would you like to see in order to be comfortable with that? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vivian Demas. I live at 9 Spring Hill Drive. Mariel spoke well about some of the issues. I just want to reinforce that. and say that from our community, the people that have gathered and talked about this, including Spring Hill and other residents, it seems that the golf club is a rare piece of land that offers a lot of benefit for the public in general. Its continued use as a golf club would benefit all, and as the gentleman said, at a much better rate, I'm sure, than what it's been at as a private club. But most importantly, if it is sold to someone that's going to develop it to the tune of 1,000 residences, our infrastructure in this town just cannot meet that demand. And once that piece of land is out of our hands, it is gone. So while I understand, and it's absolutely responsible, fiscally responsible for people to be concerned about us carrying this nut right now, I think we have to find a way. And if this town can't find a way to preserve that property for the benefit of the entire town, as opposed to becoming a huge advantage for some developer to come in and sell it and then burden us with the support for the residences that's going to create, that's a real problem for us as a community in this town. And we've got to look at what best serves our future as a whole, and not an isolated developer coming in and making a lot of money at our expense. It's a beautiful piece of property. I know there was a meeting last week that I couldn't make. I have been there. The view is just absolutely stupendous. There are ways that we can maximize that to our advantage. And I think that's where we should be looking, as a true investment in our community. And even if it is somewhat painful financially to start, there is a benefit to be realized, and losing it is just not acceptable. And that's what will happen if we don't take steps to preserve it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
There you go. Yes, sir.
I'm Chris O'Connor from Winding Way, West Orange, and last name is O'Connor. I'd like to, I spoke at the meeting that the mayor had at Rock Spring, and she's 100% correct. If the town doesn't buy the piece of land, it's going to get turned over to apartments. I know apartments very well. I am the creator of the apartment guide in For Rent. So anybody that knows those magazines, I know apartments. And it's going to get taken over by, and then they're going to build apartments. And it's going to blow your school system out of the water. It's going to blow everything out of the water. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the Township Council? No? Going once? Going twice? No? I now close public comment. I open the floor to my council colleagues. We'll start with Councilman Kukoviac.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to everyone who has come tonight, and especially those of you who have spoken out tonight. I'll just try to go through very briefly. Mr. Van Wyck, I agree with just about everything you've said. I have been up here pushing for a better treatment of our trees for years, and I would love to see a change in that. I'd love to see a change in our policy, and I'd love to see a change in our tree protection ordinance, which is not being followed. Ms. Brill, thank you very much for your comments about Mr. Fagan. He's great at what he does, and I appreciate your comments. Mr. Meyerowitz, I also agree that we need more competition and less redevelopment here in town. Same with you, Ms. Morelli. I think the rest of the comments were directed at the Rock Spring acquisition, and I agree with virtually all of the comments made tonight that it is a wonderful opportunity. If it's executed and if properly and it's maintained as open space, it could be a wonderful contribution to our township for many decades to come. One of the things I've been trying to balance, though, is the benefit of the acquisition with the cost. And there's a significant amount of cost uncertainty and risk to the township in the plan that has been presented so far. And tonight we're going to be voting on an ordinance that authorizes the acquisition of the property, and it will basically leave one more ordinance, which is the bond ordinance, that likely be coming up at the next council meeting. Ms. Clementson is also in finance, so she's familiar with some of these issues. I just want to talk a little bit about, if I could, why I have such concerns about the debt. If this project goes through and we borrow more than $12 million to finance it, the town's debt will rise to nearly $92 million. Just to put that in perspective, since year-end 2010, that would mean that we've added more than $32 million in debt. That's up 54% in less than a decade. And that's concerning because it's the taxpayers that have to pay back that debt with interest. Now, debt service, which is the payback of the debt, which is up to almost $2.5 million, or 48% in that same time period through 2018. According to Mr. Gross, the town chief financial officer, the debt would drop slightly in 2019 and then would increase significantly by almost $500,000 in 2020 and another almost $500,000 in 2021. That would mean that since 2010, our debt service would be up more than $3 million, or 62%. In addition to that, we still do not know anything about our 2019 budget, what the tax increase is going to look like, and what the capital budget for 2019 is going to look like. So it's likely that we'd be adding even more debt. So Ms. Clementson asked a very good question, what would make me feel more comfortable about this? One of the things that would make me feel more comfortable is if we had a more dedicated way to pay back the debt other than the uncertainty of Green Acres funding and selling off the property. If we sell off the property that we purchased for open space reasons, it seems to be contra to the whole rationale of why we wanted to do it. So I don't really want to sell the property if we want to keep it for open space. The other thing I would like to see to make me more comfortable is if we could get some sort of commitment by the administration and by the council that we need to cut back on our borrowing going forward. That this is it for a long time until we pay this back. Because the last thing I want to see is not only us adding on another $12 million in debt and then adding on debt in addition to this. Some of my other issues with the council, with the project is placing the Department of Public Works facility there. I don't think that is in keeping with the idea of open space and recreation. I'm also concerned about the size of the development. The mayor has proposed that we would sell off a portion of the property in order to replace the lost property tax revenue approaching $600,000 if either we or the county would buy the property. But what's actually been proposed now is the size of a property sale that would more than double that replacement of the property tax revenue. So instead of just maybe $600,000 in replacement revenue, we're talking about $1.5 million. That's the size of the project right now. I'm very concerned about the mayor's plans to turn this into a 9-hole golf course. And I've asked the administration for some research on the viability of 9-hole golf courses, and I'm still waiting to see that. But once we cut to a 9-hole golf course, it's almost impossible to go back to an 18-hole course. The mayor talks about building an indoor athletic facility, but I'm not sure that a municipality should be in that business. It certainly doesn't qualify as open space, although it definitely would be for recreation. And finally, just to keep in mind, a lot of the people who are talking here have a real interest in this because they live so closely and will be most impacted and are also most familiar with the facility. But doing this project would be a significant allocation of the town's total resources going forward over the next decade or so. If this was our only challenge over the next several years, it would be much easier for me in my deliberations. But we have other challenges. We've got, as somebody mentioned, we have multiple redevelopment initiatives, and we've got labor contract negotiations ongoing with our out-of-contract unions. So I'm trying to weigh all of these issues and considering ways that maybe we could change things going forward. I appreciate everybody being here. I understand the attraction of this. I'm just still trying to weigh the cost and the benefit.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman McCartney. Councilwoman McCartney.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'm going to go backwards because I want to say that though I understand everything that my colleague is saying, I wholeheartedly support the purchase of the council moving forward with the Rock Spring Country Club. We do understand the loss of $585,000 in tax revenue. And again, if we vote on doing this, trying to think through, Ms. Demas talked about a plan. So we have to get through the purchase so that we can get to developing a plan. I do understand what he's saying. We did have bond counsel here to talk about the bond counsel and our debt statement. We have an amortization schedule. John, if you want to talk about that also. I just think that the issues that my colleague is raising, there are a lot of what-ifs. We know there are a lot of what-ifs, but preserving the property is paramount. The meeting that the mayor did have up at Rock Spring did not just draw from the people at Rock Spring. There were people from all over the community, and they were stunned by the views there. So there was so much more potential that, yes, there is a banquet venue there. They, just in little sidebar conversations, they were talking about enhancing that as a banquet facility or doing some type of rooftop restaurant venue. Again, they were just ideas that were being presented, but if we get to that point, we can develop such a plan. Having how many inches of snow outside right now, there's also conversations about let's do recreational cross-country skiing there on such a beautiful site. I'd still love to see a fishing tournament, though we have no idea what the well, actually we do have an idea because we've done environmental studies of the water up there. There are just so much potential and so many ideas that we can share to develop a plan. So I said I'm going backwards because I do believe that there are so many benefits for the town. I appreciate everyone's concerns. I spent the entire weekend responding to residents, again, not just in Rock Spring, advocating for the council support on purchasing this property. We know that it is a big what if about Green Acres funding, but the program itself is about preserving land. So in the middle of Essex County, to be able to preserve at least, I don't know, 130 out of the 140 acres, 138 acres, how many, even if it's a 120 acres, if we carve out 15 acres for something to make up for the lost revenue, I think it is well worth an application to Green Acres. What else is there? We still have open space funds that we haven't even tapped into. I just see it as a plus for the community at whole. There's still so many ideas that we can share. Marielle Clemenson, thank you. We talked about, I know that she's involved in the neighborhood community up there about senior some of the concerns you raised about senior populations. That was one of the proposals. I think it does have the least impact to the community, so I would actually like to see something like that if some of the acreage was carved out for that. You talked about redevelopment and having an economic or a town planner. We already have a town planner that is already so well versed on senior populations. You talk about sharing other communities with other communities. Our town planner and their firm already does that and presents a lot of insight to the planning board on what's going on in other communities. So thank you, Mr. Applegate. I'm just writing down names here of people that spoke. I appreciate all of that. Mark and Rosemary Morelli talking about blighted. That's only one of 8 categories that are in designating an area in need of redevelopment, and neither one of those were the reasons why we designated the library area as an area in need of redevelopment. You've already jumped to a developer. The planning board will be discussing the area in need of redevelopment tomorrow night right here in council chambers at 7:30. So we do not have a developer scheduled or already bid because we haven't even seen a plan yet. So that was a little fast forward there to already claim that all of these decisions have already been made. Where else? Gary. So Gary, yes, Gary Van Wyck. Yes, I am the council liaison to the Environmental Commission. I invite you to the Environmental Commission meeting on March 27th. I know our town engineer walked in right after you spoke. We can put him on the agenda to come and talk about that. There are always 2 sides to every story, and yes, I did. I actually shared the article about, the New York Times article about the trees. There are always 2 sides. You mentioned curbing. There are some township, some neighborhoods, they just need curbing to prevent flooding. So there are a lot of reasons why the forester and the engineer make these decisions. At the top of the meeting, we just had the county present almost $400,000 to the township for resurfacing and ADA compliance, and all of those reasons that we can put those funds in place. Every application does have to be weighed. You have already attended some of our environmental commissions. I invite you to our next meeting on March 27th. We would have the forester there. I'm going to invite the engineer to come so that we can discuss policy and how we can move forward. And as you already know, the past couple of meetings with the Environmental Commission, we have not spoken about this. We have been reviewing the Essex Green Plan. So we can pick up where we left off at March 27th. We meet in the conference room, as you know, at 7 o'clock, the last Wednesday of every month. And we are definitely trying to be stewards of the township. And Joe Fagan, wow. So it was really nice to see this on our council agenda, to have you as our public information officer, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, you're always 2 steps ahead of where we want to be and what we want to do. You're already there. So I look forward to working with you. I even like the fact that I had, talking about the Environmental Commission, we're doing an Earth Hour launch next Wednesday at the Thomas Edison National Historic Park. And I spoke to Joe about that, and he's already going to be there, and he's on top of that. So one of the things I forgot to mention in my council liaison is I register the township with Earth Hour every year as one of the thousands of townships that participate in this global event on the last Saturday of every month. This is where thousands of cities and towns around the world across 180 countries turn their lights off for just 1 hour at 8:30, from 8:30 to 9:30. This year will be Saturday, March 30th, and it's a sign of solidarity to conserve energy and protect the nature, protect our environment. So we invite everyone to commit to that. It's just for 1 hour. But we also do have a launch where we talk about that next Wednesday, March 13th, at 4 o'clock at the Thomas Edison National Historic Park, where we have students from the high school, middle schools that are talking about projects that they're working on, and local leaders in the community that come out and speak. So, Anthony, thank you for the CDBG grant. And I just wanted to, I actually did go backwards because now I'm up to Anthony, but Anthony, you had talked about reaching out about support. If there is a resolution, if you're presenting these grants to other municipalities, if there is a resolution that you could share with us about showing our support for the continuation of the program, please share it with us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Matute Brown.
Thank you. I'll start from the beginning. Thank you, Mr. Puglisi, for always having a smile on your face when you come here. I know your days are long, and you sit through our long town council meetings, so I appreciate all of your works and effort. Gary, I certainly understand, and I'm going to be very honest. I am learning to become an advocate, a better advocate for our environment. I've joined Our Green West Orange in a lot of meetings. I'm very grateful for all of the voices at the zoning board, because I've learned so much just from you alone, so thank you. And I agree, we do have to do better, and that's why you're all here, is to make sure that we all do better. So thank you for your investment and your time. I know it takes a lot to be an advocate, particularly when sometimes your voice is a lonely voice, but I appreciate your voice. Megan, thank you for your words. I agree. And I'll say this in Spanish because no hay muchos que no reconocen que usted habla y escribe en español, y le aprecio eso de usted. So just to translate, I was surprised by one time that one of the first times that I met Joe Fagan, and he spoke in Spanish to me. So I really was telling him that I appreciate that he knows how to speak and write our language. I think that's a tremendous asset that you bring to the town, that along with everything else that you do. So Megan, thank you for those words. I echo your sentiments in that regard. Let's see. Okay, so I think everything thereafter is where this councilwoman is on the hot seat, right? Because I've gotten all of your emails. So I have not had the opportunity to respond on what can be and has been on a daily basis now, about 100 emails. I really do appreciate them. I do read them, I just don't have time to respond to all of them. I want you to understand that my concern, and I have been having wonderful conversations, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Mr. Trank and I have spent countless times on the phone, as has the mayor, as has our CFO. I've met with our bond counsel on Sunday for several hours to completely understand what those implications are. I've been doing the tax assessor. I sat down with him, and John Gross met with us at that time again. He didn't get enough of me for the 2 hours the night before, so he joined us for another 2 hours on the following day. So what I'm saying is, with respect to the requirements, or not requirements, but the asks that I have had as a freshman on the council, I want to be sure that I can make a decision, and all of the stones have been turned. None have been left unturned. And the administration has willingly provided as much support as they can, when on the very first time, with the understanding that the township had already had conversations with the county. I asked them to go again, and they did, and I'm very grateful for that, because you didn't have to. But I wanted that to happen for 2 reasons. Because if we could mitigate the impact, the financial impact on the bond that we have to purchase as a township, I wanted to explore that, and I had conversations myself with the county, so I just wanted to make sure that that was something that was done, and so I appreciate the administration doing that. I have asked, and one of the things that is concerning to me, and while I understand and my colleagues have reiterated that this particular budget does not impact, this bond sale does not impact this current budget. But again, I have spent time with our CFO, and understanding that there is a long-term implication of this. And please, I don't want to lead you to believe that I don't understand and don't think that this is a wonderful opportunity. It would be easy for me to get some sleep. I found some new gray hairs in my head since this has all started. I kid you not. I would really want to be able to lay my head down and just vote yes and be done with it. That would be the easy thing. But I have to make a decision that is a well-informed decision, and part of that is bringing transparency to the process and integrity to the process. So I asked for a budget, and we don't have one yet. Now, in all fairness, the state has not. Today was the governor gave his address, his budget address, so we don't have the state aid numbers, but I understand, again, because John has volunteered so much information that I've asked for, that those numbers don't change. But we have had conversations, and maybe our CFO or our mayor who's here can speak to that if they'd like. But, you know, my hesitation is I just want to know that we're going to be okay in year 3, in year 4. There are, from what I understand, tremendous challenges in our budget. I just want to make that decision with that understanding. I'm not saying that that is going to keep me from giving a yes vote. I just want to have that information beforehand so that I know that I'm making a well-informed decision. I have, Muriel, to your point, thank you for your voice. So that I answered your question, Muriel, by saying that those are the things that I need. But I've also had conversations, and very positive conversations, with the mayor. With respect to the need of a town planner, I think that with all of the developments that are happening in town, and I'm not anti-development, I am pro-responsible development, including redevelopment where it is needed, but I do believe that we need a town planner who will be here full-time, who has the economic developer skill set to be able to bring businesses and residents to our town to help stabilize our taxes. So we've had this conversation, and I'm pretty sure that the mayor has leaned closer to that commitment, but I'll let him speak to that. So that's where I am. I would love to vote yes, but we also had the conversation today of a financial plan I'd like to see 5 years before, where we've been, where we are now, and where we will be. Just as a holistic approach to our finances as well. So it's not that I don't want to vote yes. I just want to make sure that my decision is completely informed, and that's what we've been working on. So I look forward to continuing that work. And thank you, everyone, for coming out and continuing to support and send emails.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Castellino.
Thank you, Council President. Okay, so we started off, Anthony coming down, giving us a nice check for some, for getting our streets paved, which is one form of way that we do get our streets paved. Another form is we bond monies. So Councilman Krokoviac, going back to, you know, making future promises on bonds, as you know, that would be kind of hard to do because we wouldn't be able to get our roads paved in the future. So that's going to, you know, that's a promise I don't think the administration could keep. Also, Anthony, you mentioned Bethany Center for Champions, a great organization servicing many needy children down here on Main Street, West Orange. And wouldn't some open space be a wonderful place for those students, those residents and students be able to partake in with the township golf course. Stacy, thank you. Changing gears, your energy, amazing, and you need that for the farmers market, so we wish you well. Thank you for coming down. Gary, I've learned a lot attending all the zoning board meetings and learning about trees and there's space in the Essex Green Plaza, so I appreciate all your advocacy, I really do. Just some of the comments I don't agree with. I mean, just you were present when Mr. Linson spoke. I think he's very well informed, not that you didn't say that, but you're right. He's scheduled for Wednesdays, but he works a lot more than Wednesdays. He comes in whenever we need him. Unfortunately, there's always two sides to every story, as Councilwoman McCartney was alluding to. And in some cases, the trees were had died. Some cases, wasn't the case, and I'm glad that folks are advocating in town, because it is important, and, you know, we will be on top of it. I know Mr. Lepore was here, and he heard some of it in the back, and unfortunately, sometimes people have ownership rights to their property, so, you know, some folks don't always agree and may want to take down a tree, so we also have to be respectful of property owners' needs as well. But definitely, this is something that we could work together as a community and to preserve as many trees as possible. Again, all the more reason for the open space up at Rock Spring. That's 148 acres, and a minimal of 100, and I think, is it 30, Mayor, that would be preserved? 138, sorry, and 120 would be preserved. Joe Fagan, look forward to working with you with the Public Relations Commission. We've been working together with the downtown, so I look forward to supporting you this evening. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Ms. Anderson for her time on with the township the past couple of years, and we wish her well with all her endeavors. And so can't wait to get started. Mark Meyerowitz. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, but I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go up to Becker Farm Road, drive through it, and then I want you to come home down Bloomfield Avenue in Verona and tell me if those are blighted communities, because they are recipients of redevelopment projects. So as we discussed many times up here, you know, it's a real estate tool. It's a way of getting projects done here in New Jersey the past few years. So some of your comments I didn't appreciate this evening, but again, you know, the Ann and Flag Company on Bloomfield Avenue in Verona, that's another project. Route 10, all those new stores redeveloped in Livingston. So, you know, we haven't done any, you know, there's always implication that we're doing things inappropriately here in West Orange, and we're not. We're following the rules, we're following the law, and, you know, we're developing. A lot is going on. I always tease the mayor, how you've been sleeping lately at night with all these different projects, and dissecting them one by one. As Councilwoman said, tomorrow night the library will be on reading, or will be discussed at the planning board meeting, and look forward to hear that. That was, again, we had the senior citizen survey. Marielle, I know your neighbors. I know a lot of folks took it in your neighborhood, and thank you for that. That was given to the planning board formally, and to be put into the master plan, and ergo the idea with the mayor that, you know, the need of senior housing, which would be great. So a lot of moving parts, a lot that's going on here, and I look forward to the development. And I'm going to go to Rock Spring, and I apologize because there's so many comments and so many notes. First of all, I want to thank all the residents who have been emailing us, trying to get back to so many. There's so many comments, and they're just not coming from the Rock Spring community, all over the township. I can't get through ShopRite without folks talking to me, or the bank, or we've been to a few town events the past week. So it's been very exciting, and seeing all the support. And I have to say, the majority, which is 99%, is supportive of this project. I think there's very few people in the township that would like to see this go to a developer to overdevelop. And I appreciate you, all the due diligence my colleagues have been doing. And we've been all on the phone and asking for information and reading and making sure we make an informed decision. But the transparency of the administration and the two presentations they had already, I think that really helped break it down for the folks. Again, the mayor last week, Councilman Kroviak, I'm sorry you couldn't make it to that meeting, but again, it was broken down very nicely. It's 0% impact to this budget, $49 in the years to come, and a very thoughtful plan to pay it down. And again, speaking with the grant writer, we can't guarantee it, but it sounds very hopeful for Green Acres. And we know, as a council, we know this is a good purchase to be making, a good transaction to be making, because there's some other factors in there that I believe will be beneficial for town budgets. So I think we really need to be mindful of that. As far as the 9-hole golf course, many people are excited, some people aren't, and there's time to do due diligence on that and get a plan together. So it should be a very exciting year and a lot of great conversation. But right now, we have to make sure that we have control of the property. Detrimental that we have the control. We can sell it with stipulation. A developer buys it now, he doesn't start working on it. The property isn't maintained. It's just going to be so many issues going on. We know litigation, because that could happen for density, which we're experiencing right now, which we can't discuss, but we know that is a reality. That is very scary. So I will be supportive. Muriel, you asked us about how we would feel about economic development planner. A few years back, way before I got on the council, because of severe budget cuts that the council had to make, and with the retirement, they lost a planner. And since then, a very qualified planner has been being paid in a consultant fashion. So, you know, we lost $150,000 salary plus benefits, and that's been made up. Now, granted, economic developer, I could support in a consultant position, and but you know, I'm not going to have to, you know, I'm not that going to, you know, you ask what our needs are to make this happen. I'm not going to, you know, tell the administration what needs we have. They're in full control of what we need. This will be a challenging budget, as they all are. We need additional, you know, we have our police officers always asking for more police officers, our firefighters asking for more firefighters. So when you look at a budget as a town whole and all the positions, senior coordinator, we need another senior coordinator. So we have, for the past 2 years, I've been hearing how we need to expand senior citizen services. And if we don't get a grant, you know, some plans that we're looking forward to implementing will not come to fruition. So there's a lot. I understand the need for the budget and 5-year out and all of that. But again, I don't see tying that to this purchase. It's instrumental that we move forward with this purchase. And I hope my colleagues are all on board, because this is a large parcel of land that will be green space for years to come. And other needs, we all don't have to agree on PDW. I know that's a tough one to swallow. But again, that's a conversation we have all year to debate over. I think we need to take care of what township business now and discuss the other possibilities when the time comes. But thank you, administration, for giving us a snapshot and a thoughtful and reasonable breakdown on how to pay that bond off. One thing I have to say, and I say it every meeting, it's a little debate Councilman and I have, you always talk about the in debt we incur, you never talk about the debt we pay down, and we are way under the threshold. The state recommends you stay at 3.5%. And we're at, with this bond, would bring us to 1.49%. So we're 2 points under state recommendation for debt ratio. So, Mr. Gross, if you want to jump in on any of those figures, go right ahead.
You've quoted them perfectly. So.
Okay.
Sure. Anyway.
But thank you, folks, everyone, for coming down and supporting the project. Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Castellino. I'm going to start off. Stacy, good luck with the farmers market. You know, we're here for you. We hope you make it a success. I remember spending many weekends down, putting it up, taking it down, putting it up, taking it down. So we wish you much success, and the township will be proud of you, believe me. Joe, what more can I say from the years that I've known you that I think you're going to bring a breadth of new exposure to the township, dignity, the history, the culture. I've learned so much from you. And I know our residents continue to learn so much from you. And I always say that the story you tell me about Mayor Sharon, it tears at me just that we had such a hero born in the township of West Orange. And we can't let people forget about that. And I always thank you for reminding me of the history of Jimmy Sharon. So thank you for that. I thank all the residents for coming tonight. I thank all the residents who sent numerous emails to my council colleagues. I've answered as many as I could. It shows a wide breadth and length of the people of the township that want the purchase to go through. They feel it's important. They feel it's important to move forward. I've also told them that they're concerned with street and traffic. You know, the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board will be one of the factors, along with all our experts on the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board, along with the Department of Public Works and the Township Administration. Those issues will be addressed. What I want to say is that, too, to what Councilwoman Kessler said, you know, we do talk about debt. Debt's an important thing, but we also pay down our debt. And I just want to piggyback on what she said. And to bring into that, too, is that, you know, Mr. Meyer, which you talk about depressed areas and everything else, I'll tell you what, I'll take you down Milburn Avenue in Short Hills, and I'll show you the 25 open store locations. They've lost 15 restaurants this past year, 10 stores they've lost this year, and they do have an area in need of redevelopment at the old Saks Fifth Avenue building. So areas redeveloped doesn't mean you're a depressed area. It means this is what municipalities do to improve their areas, and they do it. But I don't like the way the comments are, is that we're so bad because we do it, but you never mention the other townships within the county that do it. So look around, take a ride. You can go, I'll tell you what, anytime you want to, I'll take you down Milburn Avenue, and you'll see, you know, so you can't just say Milburn and Short Hills are so much better than West Orange, because you know what? Everybody's facing the same problem. Now to jump back on Rock Spring. You talk about the different expenditures, you talk about the different increases in population if it's developed. You do have to realize there's another expense here that nobody here talks about. But I'm fortunate because I sit on one of the most interesting boards that a council member can sit on, and that is the joint meeting of Essex and Union counties. And if you don't know what the joint meeting is, and it's not what you may think it is, the joint meeting is the Sewerage Commission that is run by the townships in the county of Essex and the county of Union. And if you want to talk about expense, the numbers that we're getting has the population and dwellings increase. EPA now limits the percentage of what we call blending, and blending is what we're able to do now to treat our sewage. I don't mean to talk about such a wonderful topic, but just talk about the expense. You have to understand, if new housing comes in, and remember, Rock Spring Country Club isn't the only piece of property in the tense of being redeveloped. So as you build more and more development, more and more people live in the township, the expense to the township will be increased sanitary sewage pipelines, increased costs to run the joint meeting. At this point in time right now, the joint meeting is very close to being required to go full blending. It's not mixed blending. It's going to be full blending by EPA requirements. The cost alone is millions and millions of dollars to each municipality. So if you think the $300 or $350 you pay now in your sewage fees, you don't want to know what it's going to be if development keeps going up, and keeps going up. And I felt I needed to bring that to the public because that's something nobody here ever talks about as an infrastructure project. And the responsibility is not the developer. The responsibility is the township and the residents. And that's something you have to keep in the back of your mind. At the end of the day, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Rock Spring Country Club. Yes, it is a challenge, councilmen, councilwomen, it is a challenge, it is a risk. But at the end of the day, I believe our residents believe it truly is necessary for us to maintain the quality of life in the township of West Orange, our open spaces, our trees. To Gary's point about trees coming down and everything else, we need to really do and work harder on that. And I wish, other than yourself, Gary, I wish more and more residents would come and speak their mind and show the real feeling of how they feel. And good for you and how you've come about. We need to bring more people to show that point. Mary Ellen, you know about finance just like I do. You know, we do this, we look at this every day. But at the end of the day, I believe it's a risk. And when I look at the decision that has to be made, looking at a budget's a moving target. We won't know fully until either we do it or not do it of how our budget now, 5 years, 10 years down the road, will be impacted. I give all my colleagues credit. Each one here should be commended for the research they've done, for the information they've acquired and pulled, and they're all looking at this in an intelligent way. From my point of view is I feel that this is the way that our residents want us to go. Just from walking around, talking, knocking on doors that we've done in the past few weeks, getting the emails from which is great. I haven't gotten these many emails, and it's good to see, not that you're saying buy it, not because they live in the Rock Spring area, but what they're saying is they want you to buy it because of open space, because of the long-term effect of increased development, the long-term effect to our quality of life, open space, air, clean air, more houses, more pollution, and that's the way you have to look at it, and that's the way I've been looking at it. I'm looking at it as a cost factor. Debt is an issue, but I believe at the end of the day, if it's allowed to be developed, I believe the debt will be more so to us than the purchase price that we will do now. If we do a mixed, age-restricted community, that's great. Brings in $1.2 million, estimated, $1.2 million in additional taxes, all right? It doesn't bring any more children in, even though, believe me, and I've said this every meeting, children are coming into this township just by the houses they're buying in our neighborhoods. Not from any new developments, not from any new construction, but by the houses that are turning over in our area. In Councilwoman McCartney's area, in Councilwoman Krakowiak's area, we all in the same area, and we see all these new families. So the kids are coming in no matter what. But I think at the end of the day, it's an opportunity that if we miss it, we're going to really regret 5, 10 years from now what we could have done, what could have been there. And I just say, buy it, and then, get it off the table, and then move forward with it. We have to think about the residents. Sometimes you have to take your personal feelings. You got to take your personal whims and everything else and say, what do the residents of the Township of West Orange want us to do? And that's why it's talking to them and listening to them. And I do respect all of you. I respect your opinions. I don't fluff you off. But this is how I feel. I just want to bring up the point about the joint meeting because please keep in the back of your mind that would increase EPA requirements, with decreased flood control walls. Right now, there's a major $500 million project going down at the joint meeting to make it storm-proof. Because if we don't make it storm-proof and we get one more Hurricane Sandy, the potential cost by EPA and FEMA standards is $19 billion. And I don't think any township is going to want to take on that burden. So I thank you all for being here tonight. I thank you for your opinions and your trust in the Township Council. And please keep sending your emails to us. Let us know how you really feel. And always feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Consent agenda. Approval of minutes of previous meeting, public meeting and executive session, February 19, 2019. Report of township officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bills, are there any questions on the bills?
Consent.
Any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Councilwoman Krakowiak?
None for me.
None. Councilwoman McCartney?
None for me.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
None for me.
Councilwoman Castellino?
None for me.
And Councilman Guarino? None for me.
Council President?
Yes,
Well,
Mr. Kaiser.
I would ask that you move to amend Resolution 7919 to add another matter of litigation, that being the West Essex Highlands, so that we can discuss that in executive session.
Okay. Okay, Council, duly note that. Township Clerk, have you duly noted that amendment to the resolution? Okay. Do we have to take a vote on that to amend it, or?
I would, just to be clear about it.
Yes, Councilwoman.
All in favor?
Township Clerk, call, all in favor or not in favor?
Sure. Is there a motion to amend Resolution 7919, resolution authorizing an executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation and contract negotiations with regard to the potential purchase of land for the township?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Any noes? Okay, thank you. Okay, next item.
So should I make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The consent agenda is implemented.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we go to ordinances. Ordinances on second and final reading. Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading ordinance 256219, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 traffic subsection 7-25 loading zones of the revised general ordinances of the Township of West Orange?
So moved.
Second. You do roll call on that.
Sure. Councilwoman Casalino?
Yes.
Councilman Krakovia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. At this point in time, I opened the floor to the general public. Is anyone from the general public wishing to be heard on ordinance 2562-19? No one? Seeing no one, I close public comment on this ordinance. I open the ordinance questions to my council colleagues. Anyone have any questions on this ordinance? No? Okay, Madam Clerk, I move to move the ordinance for final approval.
Sure. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2562-19 on second and final reading?
So moved.
Councilwoman Casalino?
Yes.
Councilman Krakovia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Next ordinance, Madam Clerk.
Sure. Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 2563-19, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of the Township of West Orange in the County of Essex and State of New Jersey of certain real and personal property pursuant to the local lands and building law of the State of New Jersey, NJSA 40A:12-1?
So moved.
Second. Oh.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2563-19? Councilwoman Casalino?
Yes.
Councilman Krakovia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Okay, just to let everyone know, this is the ordinance to go forward with the purchase of Rock Spring Country Club. So I now open the floor to any resident, any person in the chamber right now to speak on ordinance 2563-19. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard in this ordinance? Seeing none, I close public comment. I open the floor to my council colleagues. Anyone from the council wishing to be heard or speak on this ordinance? Councilman Kukoviac.
I think we've all said a lot about about this purchase in response to public comment. I just wanted to perhaps clarify, this is to authorize the acquisition. There's one major piece of legislation that will be still pending after this, and that's the second reading of the bond ordinance, which I believe is going to be on the agenda for the next meeting. So while this continues to move the process forward, it doesn't end the process, at least the acquisition process. Just
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you. I just want to read from the legislative history that says the intention of this ordinance that we are about to vote on, the intention is to preserve as much of the land as possible for open space and recreational use, recognizing the needs of the community are likely to change over time and maintaining flexibility to meet those changing needs that will be most beneficial to the township. So,
Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, sir.
I did want to report to the council, and we did email it to the clerk's office, that at 3:35 p.m. today, the Office of the State Comptroller has approved the form of the contract that is before you tonight on second reading. That is any transaction, as we reported to the council, that is in excess of $10 million has to be approved by the state as to its fiscal responsibility. And they did make certain suggestions to the contract that the seller did agree to. And finally, at 3:35 today, they did authorize you to go forward tonight if the council is of that.
Thank you, Mr. Trank. Councilman Kukoviac.
Mr. Trank, thanks for sending this around to the council. I read through it briefly. Could you just explain, I guess there was a couple of amendments that had to do with what the state wanted. If you could just explain what the changes were to the sales agreement.
I'm going to yield to Mr. Duesenberry, our special real estate counsel. Mr. Duesenberry can approach the mic and summarize them.
Good evening, sir. Please state your name and everything at the microphone.
That, sir.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jack Duesenberry. I'm your special real estate counsel for this transaction. As Mr. Trank has told you, the State Comptroller's Office sent back the contract that I prepared on your behalf and had a few comments. They were less than substantive. All right.
What we do want to thank
you. Yeah, no, I get there, and without characterizing them too much. The main one was that there is an administrative code provision that requires the ability to audit either of the parties as to the transaction. That's been included. And the other primary change was that the parties, let's see, let me get this right now. I just totally lost the thought. Let me check my notes here. Let's do this from fact and not fiction.
I read it during that.
I didn't see it.
I'm sorry. It was totally slipped my mind. It's there now. That all parties have to maintain records of the transaction for a period of 5 years. All right. Other than that, I can go through each one of the other 6 or 7 small things if you want. Those were the only substantive ones. The rest were pretty much typos, words that just needed to be clarified a little bit.
They wanted to make sure that our rights in the Tort Claims Act or anyone else's rights were fully preserved. They just want all the state laws to apply to the transaction. They're just a watchdog.
Correct.
Right. And of course, if they felt there was a fiscal issue, they would point it out on their level. But again, they don't take a position as to how you should vote. They just say this falls within the confines, and they're comfortable with the commitment if the council approves it and the mayor approves it, that is occurring.
Councilwoman, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted it for the benefit of the public, since they didn't see this contract, if you can just go over those 7 minor changes that...
I will do that. On page 11, we use the word FERPTA as a document to be delivered. All right. They required us to first put out the words Foreign Investment in Real Property Tax Act and then put the word FERPTA in quotes so that what we were defining was clearly identified. That was on page 11. On page 12, on page 12, we had to identify that the signer of the contract on behalf of the seller was the president of the seller. We had to put in his title. We likewise inserted on page 13, paragraph 12, that the signer was Mayor Robert D. Parisi and his title was Mayor. That was on page 13, 12. We deleted the word of out of paragraph 16, which is giant disclaimer, because it should have been OR instead of OF. Spell check wouldn't catch that one. And then on paragraph 16, as Mr. Trank has indicated, we added in a general indemnification paragraph language that is, quote, "The foregoing notwithstanding, nothing contained in this agreement shall limit nor expand the buyer's right and/or obligations pursuant to the New Jersey Tort Claims Act, NJSA 59 1-1 et sec." And then... Excuse me?
That was it.
No, we added paragraph 33. All right, which was the two additional provisions about relevant records and the maintenance of documentation and the audit provision, which was then also included in an exhibit document, which was the escrow agreement, if in fact we need to have that for bulk sales.
Thank you, sir.
Those are all of them.
Thank you very much.
And the township does want to compliment the state because they turned this around with excellent speed. They did not hold it up at all.
It was an unbelievable turnaround. So, and that was one of the main contingencies that was in the agreement that we thought was going to survive the execution of the contract on March 28th, that now is taken care of. So I might also add that goes a long way to help the seller be comfortable in knowing that one less major hurdle has been jumped.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. What?
Can I just ask one more quick question? I know one of the steps we still have to take is getting approval from the state local finance board. Has anything happened on that yet?
Absolutely. Mr. Johnson, who, again, I appreciate Councilwoman Matute Brown spending the time with him. He's been in almost daily contact, as has Mr. Gross and Mr. Hanley and Mr. Seaton. The mayor actually will appear before the local finance board next Wednesday between 10 and noon with Mr. Gross and all the professionals. And that's when they actually, again, we expect, it's on the agenda, and we hope for favorable treatment. So I do believe there's going to be a pre-discussion that is going to occur on Monday, that Mr. Gross and Mr. Hanley and Mr. Seaton will be involved with Mr. Johnson, which will also be in Trenton. So again, everything is subject to that. Also that, as Mr. Dusenberry says, is the next major hurdle prior to coming back, as you mentioned, on March 19th here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving
and
right
I will report finally that we have had incredibly successful, as you all know, we were simultaneously out on an RFP. We've had, as of Friday, when Ms. DeSantis went on a break, we'd had 12 different vendors who picked up the specs, which is excellent. We're told they're not all, but they're all the national major players have gotten this. Apparently, it has hit the national websites on golf, of which I'm not a member of. But the bottom line is, Mr. Kaiser was there today for the site inspection, and one of the major vendors was there. A second major vendor has previously toured. So again, we're excited and expect those submissions are due, I think, next Thursday, the 14th. And then we'll evaluate them. And again, depending on how this council votes, then that would be the next step after the vote on March 19th or thereafter.
Anything else, Mr. Trank?
No, thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Moving right along, Madam Clerk.
Is there a motion to adopt on second and final reading ordinance 2563-19? Councilwoman Casalino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
At this point in time right now, the council has two resolutions for executive session that we need to go into. So I would like to get a motion from my council colleagues to go out of public meeting and into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You can recess.
Okay, welcome back, West Orange. We're back from our executive session. We thank you for waiting for us. All we have to discuss right now is anybody with matters pending.
I think Councilman Kukoviac had something.
Councilman Kukoviac.
just wanted to ask about what else is going on with the library redevelopment and also Executive Drive.
So I mentioned that at the top of our meeting, that is on the planning board agenda tomorrow evening to review the study that was just done on the library. So that's on the agenda.
Yes, I know, but frequently the administration has information that the council doesn't, so that's why I'm throwing it out. I just wanted to see what's about the other redevelopment initiatives. What's going on with Executive Drive and what's going on with...
Right now, there's nothing going on. I mean, we have, obviously, there's pending matters and there's issues that are being researched by the people that you guys agreed to hire.
That's tomorrow on the planning board agenda.
Planning board agenda is on tomorrow, discuss the library issues. It's going to depend on what happens there, because the planning board has to make a decision what they want.
Well, the reason I was asking is we hired a planning firm to do the redevelopment plan for Executive Drive, and it's been probably close to 3, maybe 4 months. That would seem to me to be...
I think the plan is completed. I'm not sure, though. I'll double check that, and I'll call you tomorrow. I'm not sure if the plan is completed, but I think it is, because I'm a little confused between that plan and the library plan. There were 2 separate plans.
Right.
One plan is for Executive Drive. The other plan was for redevelopment of the library and where it was going to go.
Right. The library is the investigative report.
Exactly.
And then, but the redevelopment plan for Executive Drive is a totally different thing.
Yes.
But so if there actually is a redevelopment plan that's been submitted, I don't know, either to the planning department or to you guys, would you please send it to the council?
I will have it checked out.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you. And I know we've been talking the last couple of meetings about the situation with the fan and the heat and the air conditioning here. Has anything else progressed? I think you said you discovered that most of the heat in this building is controlled from your office, but
correct.
Is there anything new? I think you were talking about Mr. Lepore and perhaps some other people were taking...
Mr. Lepore is going to be working on the noises with a contractor, but he hasn't done that yet.
He's been away on vacation, so he just got back.
He just got back from vacation.
Okay.
So he's going to deal with that.
So basically trying to dampen the noise that's here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Great. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else?
I have a question to piggy on back what Councilman said. So just for the process, so the redevelopment plan for the current library that is being heard tomorrow night.
No. It's not a redevelopment plan. Redevelopment plan has a very...
The study. I'm sorry, the study. So that study, so you sent that to to Jerry Sweeney, who sent it to the board, and I understand the planning board received it. Why didn't the rest of the council receive it?
It wasn't supposed to go to the council. It was supposed to go to one. My understanding is one of the council members requested it from the board. That was my understanding. But it wasn't sent to every council member.
Okay. So shouldn't we all get it then? I mean,
If you want it, you can request it.
Of course we want these things, yeah, whenever, well, I think when they come back, they should be given to us.
Review it and figure out what they're going to do with it before you guys even have any say in it.
Here.
So, I mean, I have no problem with it. I mean, if you want it, all you have to do is request it from the planning department.
Yeah, well,
That's where the report went.
well, silly me, I'm under the assumption when we have a report like that, I believe it would come back to us as soon as it gets in, unless there's a reason why not. So
I'm not so sure why, to be quite honest with you, but it was, that report went to the planning department.
Okay.
It didn't come to our office. It
So-
went directly to the planning department.
So now when the study for the building up at Executive Drive comes in, can we get that as soon as it hits?
That's what the councilman just said.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to check and see if it's completed or not. I'm not sure if it is or not,
Okay,
but I'll check tomorrow.
Thank you.
okay. I know we have a lot going on, but...
Yeah, no, I'll check it tomorrow. I'll check out tomorrow if it's available.
Anyone else? Matters pending?
I have one last question
Go
for
ahead.
Mr. Sayers, if you don't mind. Edison Lofts, the Jitney 6, are they ready for a Jitney yet, or are they stopping? Has
I've
there
actually
been any
trying to
further
get in
conversation?
touch with Mr. Diaz. I think he might be away. I haven't been able to
Okay.
get in touch with him for a little while. I'm going to call, what's his name?
Ed Cohen?
Ed Cohen.
Ed Cohen?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to him and see what's
Okay.
going on. But we did talk about it, and there were certain things that they had to have before we were going to do that, and then they were going to subsidize us in order to do the community.
Yes. Okay.
So that hasn't been worked out yet.
Okay.
Those particulars haven't been worked out yet.
All right. So
But
that's
apparently the
good.
demand is there because it was not
Yeah.
a condition of the application, but they did state that if the demand was there, that they would look into it. So that's where we are right now.
Right, but I haven't heard from him in
No,
like a
I-
month. That's what I'm saying. So
Well, even
if the demand was there, what I'm saying is I
Ask
would
him.
think you'd be calling me.
Because right now, they're telling them they could drive down to the Mississippi Loop, park the car,
I had told
and
them
jump
that
on the
when we had
jitney.
looked at the contract, and it basically stated what had to happen before we would provide the service to them, and then they would pay us.
Okay. All right, very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sayers.
I'll follow up with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Well, West Orange, thank you for joining us this evening. Remember, our next Township Council meeting on March 19th will be at Liberty Middle School, same time, different place. Have a good evening. Thank you, West Orange. Good
Okay,
night.
see you at the parade.
Bye-bye.